Alright, in the last video we took a look at some of the mouse events that jQuery offers. Now we're going to look at some form events. Alright, so we have an index.html file here, and what I'm going to do in this video is I want to use the CDN. So if we say jQuery CDN, and let's see, code.jquery.com, and let's click this jQuery 3.x uncompressed, and that'll give us a script tag that we can use. Okay, so we just paste this in, and then we don't have to download jQuery, we don't have to include it in our file structure or anything like that. Alright, and I would suggest if you're if it's a production application, I would suggest downloading it, including it in your file structure. But if you're just prototyping, or you're just developing, you're still in development mode, then this is a quick and easy way to include jQuery. Alright, now what we're going to do is create a simple form in the body. Okay, so we'll say form, we're going to give it an ID of my form. Alright, and let's put a couple different fields in here, and we're going to wrap each one in a div. Okay, and then each field will also have a label, so we'll say name, and let's put input, and type is going to equal text. Alright, and then I'm just going to copy this div. Okay, paste that in a few more times. This one will be email. This one will be, let's say, location. And then this would be, I don't know, we'll say category. I just want this to be a select list. Okay, so let's replace the input with select. And then put some options. We'll say value equals 1. So this will be category 1, and we'll just copy that, put 2 more in. Alright, and then we want a submit button, so we'll say input type is going to be submit, and let's set a value of submit. Alright, so we'll save that, and now we have a very simple form. Okay, not much to look at, but that's fine. I'm actually going to put a line break after each label. Alright, so it looks a little better. So first event we're going to look at is focus. Okay, so focus is when you click in to an input, and you can see that basically it's active. Okay, that's focus. So in here we have our document .ready. So we're going to grab the form, which has an ID of my form, and we want all inputs. So we're going to say input dot focus. Okay, put in a function, and what I want to do is I'm going to change the background color. Okay, now we're going to use the CSS action, which we haven't talked about yet, and we will talk about in the DOM manipulation video, but basically it just allows us to apply CSS. Okay, so we're going to use this because we're talking about the current input we're in, .css, and then the style we want to create is background, and then the value is going to be pink. Alright, so if we save that, reload, click inside a field, and now you'll see the background is pink. Now if I click outside of it, it doesn't clear yet. Okay, so you can see that these are now stuck being pink. So what we can do is we can then target the blur event. Blur is when you actually leave the input. Okay, so down here we're going to do this dot blur, and we have to pass in a function, And then we can take this right here, paste that in, and let's change pink to none. Alright, so now if I click in, turns pink, I escape, I go outside of it, it turns back to white. Alright, so we have focus and we have blur. Next I want to take a look at change, and that's very helpful with select lists. So let me just show you what I mean. So we're going to go underneath, let's see, this ends right here, so we're going to go underneath that. I'm just going to put some comments in here. Let's change event, and this is focus and blur events. Alright, so we want to target the select. So we're going to say, let's see, we need the ID my form and then select. Okay, then we're going to call dot change. And what I want to do is when we select an option here, I want to display it down here. So I'm going to put a div up here right below the form. Let's put some line breaks. And let's put div, and we'll give it an ID of output. Alright, and then down here what we're going to do in the select event here is we're going to create a variable called cat for category, set it to nothing, and then what we'll do is we need to use a jQuery loop. We're going to use an each loop. So in the selector here we're going to say select option colon selected. Okay, so when whatever is selected, and we're going to say each, and then pass in a function, and then we're going to just append to that cat variable that we have. So remember, appending is plus equals, and we want this pertaining to the select dot text, so whatever text is in that select, and then we're going to just concatenate a space just like that, and then below that each loop we're going to grab that output ID and add text and then pass in the cat variable. Alright, so let's go ahead and save, reload, choose category 2, and now you can see it shows up down here. Okay, whatever I choose is going to show up down there. Okay, we can also have a select event. Alright, and that doesn't necessarily pertain to the select box. What it does is if we have some text in an input and we go ahead and highlight it, that's going to fire off the select. So what I'm going to do is actually add a value to the location here. So we'll say value New York. Okay, so now when we enter the page, it has a value of New York. And what we're going to do is put in a selector here of colon input, and then we're going to call select and let's use that input ID that we have. I'm sorry, output, and we'll do dot text, and let's say something was selected. Alright, and then we want to do dot show, and then I want it to fade out after a minute. Alright, and don't worry about the fade out. We're going to get into this in the effects and animation video, but basically it's just going to fade out within a second or 1,000 milliseconds. Alright, so let's go ahead and reload and watch as I select it and I release, we get something was selected. Alright, and actually if we don't want it to fade out, we can just get rid of that. And there we go. Alright, so that's select. Now I want to take a look at submit. Okay, so when we submit a form, that will actually fire an event. Alright, so let's do my form dot submit okay, and then let's take the output ID and we'll say dot text form submitted. Alright, now if I reload and we just fill out this form and submit, you'll see that it just kind of flashes and then goes away. And the reason for that is the form is actually being submitted to a page, and we don't want that. We don't want the form to actually get submitted. So what we can do is pass in an event parameter here and then simply say e.prevent default, and that's going to prevent the default behavior of the form. So now if I go ahead and submit, now you can see that we get form submitted and it stays there. The last event I want to show you is the key down, or key up and key down events. Okay, so let's go ahead and take my form input, so basically any input, we're going to say dot key down okay, and then let's take the output dot text, and in here we're going to say, let's say you are typing. Okay, so now if I reload and I click in one of these and I hit a key, it's going to say you are typing, and it just stays there. Okay, so that's fine if you want to test to see if someone's actually, if they push a key down. But if you want to only fire it off when the key is actually down, then we can use key up here. So let's say this dot key up, and we'll take that output element and let's say dot text, and then that'll just be blank. So now when I hold it down, you can see you are typing, and then when I release, it goes away. Okay, so that can be helpful for a number of things. Now that's going to be it for this video. Okay, so that's how we can use form events with jQuery. In the next video, I want to get a little further into DOM manipulation. Alright, so I'll see you in the next video.